pain in the arse. My mum, when she was a pup, she was just my mum. Every time she woke up when she was a puppy, my mum woke up with her, and then it's just let on. It's fucking nightmare.
What's going on, G? That's us live at 11. How you doing, bud?
Not too bad. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate
What's
it.
that?
Thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah, thanks for coming on, mate. First and foremost, taking the time out of your day to come on. We were actually just on beforehand talking about the Rottweiler pups. What age is your Sansa?
She's 5 now. Yeah, she's 5.
5? Holy shit!
5. Yeah. I actually forget myself sometimes. I still think she's a puppy. I'm like, no, she's 5.
I'm in the thick of it with Lenny. He's 6 months and he's turned shit up, like literally. So that's a pre-warning. If I have to like jump up and leave the calls because Lenny has just grabbed some shit in the background. Oh god, sure. It's all fun and games anyway. It's all fun and games.
I still have videos and photos from her like coming home and just pillows and fucking posts and sofas torn to pieces. Like just be worth it in the end. Let's give it 4 years.
Absolutely. Gee, so before I suppose we get into the call today, tell us a wee bit about yourself, mate. What was your sort of sporting background, and what gave you the sort of push to move into the fitness industry before I suppose we get into
the
rest of it?
I came from a football background, so played football up to I was 16, and then left it around obviously about 16 years old and went into MMA of all things, and I was there did MMA about 3 years. And absolutely loved it, and I think that's where my kind of love for fitness, conditioning, like real hardcore training, like that's what really that's where I kind of flourished type thing. So did it for 3 years, got a few kind of niggles in the knees, gave it a break, and then went back into it again. But just the club I was at kind of changed me. I didn't really get back into it, so yeah, left that and then just kind of found the gym. Really started training with a fella from I used to work with in the Leisureplex. He was of all things, a badminton player. Mm-hmm. And he was just doing little conditioning drills. He was actually competing in the Commonwealth at the time. And I was like, sure, I'll jump in with you, do bits and bobs. So, and again, just grew from there really. And then it wasn't until I started working in the Leisureplex, that's where I met Dan.
Right, okay. I didn't know you knew each other that far back.
Yeah. So me and him used to mop the toilets regularly together in the gym. Okay. But yeah, it was really like from working there, like I transitioned from lifeguard into the gym as a kind of fitness instructor. And then from there, like I think from taking classes and getting that buzz of, taking a group of people through exercise and, I'm sure like looking back now, probably cringe at some of the stuff I was doing, but it was good crack at the time. And then from there, I think things that I got a bit sour just because I think I really wanted to progress on and try and, help people more. Whereas that was kind of like, it was taboo almost. It was a bit weird because we weren't like PTs. So it was strange, but that's where I really knew that's, where I wanted to go. And then Dan had opened Primal with Paul Murray.
Yeah.
And then I'd always said I was interested in working with Dan, like, whether it be through another gym or through No Limits. And yeah, that's how things got going really. And then I got suspended from the Leisureplex and I had to go all in with coaching. So I have no choice.
Right, okay. Well, weird. I'm not even going to ask what the suspension is for. It's probably for something like stupid, I'm guessing.
Madness.
Okay.
Like not cleaning the toilets or not cleaning the treadmills or something like that. Can I remember?
What do you do?
Madness.
What do you do? So you were in Paul's place. You're in Primal for a while. And you kind of, I know you kind of really delved into kettlebell training a good bit. Was there what specifically influenced you there? Because obviously I've been coaching and training with kettlebells now for a number of years, and I'm sure you've studied. I know you've studied a lot of the same stuff that I would have. So what was the driver behind that?
It was strange because I got like a real like a level 2 qualification. I can't remember what the company was called at the time through the Leisureplex. They put us through it and it was awful, but just like through there I kind of like felt this is actually a good bit of kit, like these things like I had no knowledge of at the time. But I think from not really knowing much about it and not knowing the complexities of it to then going into primal and, you know, being taught a lot of things by Paul, you know, just in different ways you can use it, and the effectiveness of it, I think, was what really did it for me. And, you know, the amount of work you can get done in such a short space of time, and, you know, essentially is what you can do with this lump of metal with a handle on it. And it blew my mind. I was like, it's like a handheld gym. Like, there's just so much you can do with it. And I think from there, like, my kind of love for kettlebells, like, really grew, and I just wanted to, you know, constantly explore what you can do and how far you can really push it. But yeah, that's, I still love them. Still love them. Just, as I say, I just finished a session there with them. So I would say it's a love-hate relationship most of the time, especially with the likes of the snatches, like with the TSC doing that 5-minute snatch test. That is still to this day one of the most horrific things I've ever done.
Yeah, tell me about it. It's absolutely brutal. I suppose just a bit of context here for people. So the TSC is the Tactical Strength Challenge. I think last time out, Gareth, like, your numbers were something ridiculous, weren't they? So basically, it's there's three components to the competition. Our Oliver's just in here to ask me a question. What's up, mate? Yes, you can get Robux. So there's three components to the competition. It is deadlift, powerlifting style rules. So you get 3 attempts at a 1 RM. Now, it's slightly changed, I think, from the last time I done it. But then it used to be 1 max set of pull-ups, and then depending on what category you're in, for example, the male open was body weight. The male novice was body weight, male open was body weight, and then the male elite was 10 kilos. That's changed now, hasn't it?
I think it's all body weight now.
It's all body weight?
Body weight across the board, yeah. I'm not sure what it is. Yeah.
Okay. I probably would have been shit at it, because the 10 kilo pull-ups was literally the only thing that I had in my arsenal. Yes. And then you've got 5 minutes of kettlebell snatches, which basically that's what Gareth's talking about now. You've 5 minutes to do as many snatches as you can. With which category did you do? So
I did 24 kilo twice, and then the third time I did it, most recent, I had like no choice. I had to do 32. Yeah. 5 minutes straight. Got 122 in the 5 minutes.
Was it 32?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, dude, that is ridiculous. I think I got 100. No, I did in the Malaya. I got like 99 reps.
With 32?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fucking brutal. Absolutely. Fucking hell, dude, that's some going. What was the numbers on the deadlift and the pull-ups?
Deadlift was 220, and then pull-up was, I think, 23.
Where did you finish on the table?
4th. Yeah, 4th. I came first in the snatches. I was happy with that. I came first in the snatches, like worldwide. So I was like, I can get in.
What fucking meeting beat those numbers?
Mate, you actually follow him on Instagram. He's a fucking monster. He got like 330 in his deadlift. Mate, he's a freak. He's got like B Strong KY. I think he's from Canada. The guy's a fucking monster. There was a guy always won the male elite category. A guy called Derek Toshner. Right.
I think he was. From what I remember, he represented America in the Olympic Games. It might have been in like, I don't know, it was like 400 meters, either rowing or running or something. I can't remember exactly, but I remember hearing something like that. And he was just, he was about 6'4", and he had these big long arms, but he just kept on doing like 25 pull-ups. It's just like, dude, fuck's sake. And then because of his weight, he was just throwing like a 32 about, like it was nothing. It was crazy. Although I don't know if he hit 122 reps. You know, Dan Green actually done the TSC.
The powerlifter?
Yep.
Curly hair?
He done the TSC as well 1 year. And I remember looking at my deadlift numbers and looking at his. I was just like, Jesus. I think he actually won it. I think it made him just because of on the deadlift. I remember he done about 5 or 6 pull-ups, something like that. Something stupid, because at the time it was like a 10 kilo. But then if you imagine like a 32 kilo bell to him was just like nothing. I never ever seen. I never seen snatches.
He probably weighs about 150 kilo.
Easy. I never seen his snatches, but I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah.
What do you have like this? You know, it's probably
It's a class competition. Like, see for like again, like clients as well. Like, you know, we put a few through it in the
yeah.
2 years ago now. But I think it's great for clients because it's not like it's you know, a crazy elite kind of level. It's something that's within everyone's capabilities. Do you know what I mean? And
You go
I'm
for
always
everyone.
pushing. Yeah, 100%. I'm always pushing people to do it because you have them kind of levels as well. And you know, if someone starts off on that kind of intermediate level, then they have you know, you've got that means of progression there. But I love it. It's so good.
Well, let's talk about that a wee bit, G. You know, from a client perspective, how much? Because you kind of said earlier on that you know, fuck knows what we're doing back in the day from a coaching perspective, and listen, I think anyone that says they don't go through a period like that, they're just telling lies. Like everyone, there's a period there of like, you know, after you pass your driving test, of having a few bumps and whatever else along the way. I was like, shit, that was a real learning experience. How much has your coaching evolved from then, and what does it look like today compared to then?
I think when I first started, you know, I was very much like regimented that like, everything needed to be like a certain order and you couldn't deviate from the program at all. And whatever it was, you had to do it. And, you know, if you missed a rep, then it was almost like on me to an extent. So I was very much like structured. I would have looked at programming quite a lot and it would have been, you know, that, you know, if someone comes in, they follow this. I wouldn't have really put anyone through any kind of assessment. And that's where obviously I went massively wrong. It was kind of like, right, come on in, got this program, you're going to do it, let's go. Whereas through influences of the likes of Andy McKenzie, Paul Murray as well, like massively, and doing like a lot of certifications, like Max Shank was a huge one as well. I remember in your old place. Like I took loads from that. And I think as it's kind of evolved, especially through like a combined strength, like Andy McKenzie kind of style, it's, you know, having them kind of assessments. So when someone comes into me now, it's like, and this has obviously evolved. This has been a process of, you know, a year or two, but it's like, right, where I have to meet the client where they're at. You know, I can't have them, you know, here and then me expecting them to be at this kind of level with certain things. I have to meet them where they're at. So, you know, for me, going through simple, you know, assessments, seeing where their mobility lies, seeing where their strengths are, do they have any pain? And then ultimately the session, there's a kind of protocol, like a RAPS protocol, which Anna McKenzie goes through, which is just like kind of like you've probably heard of it, like warm, range of motion, activation, and priorities. So for me, that's kind of the way I like to structure things as well. So because I'm very much like based with the kettlebell, and I'm in a case where I've learned lessons in terms of I always rushed in with the client and always wanted to give them what they wanted to my detriment. Whereas now it's like, no, let's take it a bit slower. Let's work through, you know, priorities in terms of like, where are limitations with your mobility? Where are limitations with, you know, your strength or anything like that? If you have any pain, focus on that first. Then I always like to implement like some sort of skill work. So, you know, with kettlebells especially, like there's a high element of skill there. So again, spending 5 or 10 minutes just working on any kind of skill, or even if it's the case of technique work with the deadlift or the squat, or, you know, stability work, balance work. And then you really go on to what the client ultimately wants, which is, you know, a good sweat, or if it's guys, you know, get some strength work in, work on them priorities and, you know, implement them into a good session. And then again, with programming, it's for me, it's a good thing from Mark Around. He said to me that you should never be married to the program. It's complicated. So at times it's going to change. It's going to, you know, sometimes you have to take something out, put something else in. But as long as you're kind of adding layers to an extent to someone and making things, you know, a little bit tougher over time, or adding a complexity to things, then ultimately that person's going to improve.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's kind of one of the things that I sort of say to students as well, is like, you know, fall in love with concepts, but don't get married to them. So conceptually, you know, the program is supposed to run like this. That's okay, because life doesn't run. Life is not non-linear, and it's not linear either. It's not a step cycle. It's
what do you want it to
be? Yeah. So, you know, sometimes you have to just take the concept and go, all right, but it's, you know, it's not going to work in this instance. Now we have to, because there's, you know, there's more than one way to skin a cat always. And I just find, I don't know, and I know you're very much like this as well, mate. I just generally find that the more knowledge and the more information and the more education that you pick up throughout the years, you have a tendency just to bring it right back to basics and right back to simplifying things as much as possible. Yeah,
big time. Big time, big time. Yeah, I think we can get carried away thinking that we have to make things as complex as possible and have all these small intricate like percentages and movement things, and it's like, no, like, you know, it is boring, like it's not sexy, but the basics always work, and if you do them really well with, you know, from a nutrition standpoint and a, you know, a training standpoint, you know, it's going to get you what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. The more you coach, the more you remove complexity. So from a training perspective, but what about a nutrition perspective? Has things changed from back in the day there? Because I know, I'll be honest here, right? I have no desire whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like nutrition to people or to teach people nutrition. And I'm straight up about that on the course. Like when people ask me questions about nutrition, I just be like, go on, ask PJ. And like, you're asking the wrong man. It's not like the information that I'll give people. And again, this is as basic as it can be. I'll just be like, all right, so you're going to start off by drinking more water and eating like an adult. Whenever you've learned to do that, we'll start looking at your macros and we'll figure out what fits, and then we'll figure out your protein, and then we'll take it from there. And that's about it there. That's like literally.
Yeah. But like it's funny because like I did the MNU qualification certification 2 years ago, I think it was. And it's funny because you go through all these modules and all these, you know, like, you know, things about, you know, diabetes, like pregnant women, like, you know, all sorts of like complex subjects. And the conclusion of most things were always like, eat your vegetables, eat a high protein diet most of the time, and drink water, stay hydrated. Like literally that was always the conclusion of the majority of the things. And it's like, I'm getting the point now. Yeah. It's like, you know, whatever's going on, increase your veggie intake and probably have some more protein.
Which again, like, and it's not like sometimes you have to go and you have to go full circle to actually come back to that conclusion. Because, you know, again, what I say to people, and a lot of trainers, let's say would come to elite and they're kind of like, fuck, do we need to know all this? And I'm just like, yeah, you need to know all this, because the more you know, the less complex you make things. And then you strip it right back to basics again. And then that's essentially what makes you a better coach. It's not making things more difficult for you or the client. It's making things easier.
Yeah.
And removing all of the friction.
That's it.
Them getting the outcome that they want. And the more you understand that there, the easier it is for you then to relay back to the individual what they're after.
Yeah. Because I think when I did NU, I was like, right, I'm gonna get the secret sauce here. I'm gonna get the magic. You know, I'm gonna get whatever they're not telling me. I'm gonna get it here. Like I'm gonna get something that I can just, you know, give to everyone. It's gonna be the secret potion, the secret macro split. And it's like, no, it's like once you know these different things, and you know, you delve deep into the sort of topics of nutrition. Yeah. Then say like it always just comes back around to just do the basics really well. You know, and if you eat like a dick, you're probably gonna end up unhealthy. You know, overweight or with health issues. So like nutrition, it is such a, I think it can be such a broad subject. I always say people, you know, if you type in fat loss into Google, fat loss nutrition, you're going to get about 3 billion results. Do you know what I mean? And people just be like, just shut the laptop, like, Jesus, no way. Yeah. And so again, it's like I always say the KISS principles, like keep it simple, stupid. And I always tell people, like, whenever they're beginning, like as the same as you, it's like, right, you already have people probably the same as yourself, like, you know, come up, can you give me a diet plan? Can you just give me a diet plan? Like, and it doesn't matter, like, whether you give that person the best training, the best, you know, nutrition protocol known to man, like, ultimately, like, if they can't adhere to it, it's not going to work, you know? So it's a case of meeting, again, same with training, like meeting the client where they're at in terms of nutrition. And I would always just say, like, 3 principles, like, try and get a protein source at every meal, try and have some color each meal, drink some water, and don't restrict yourself. That's probably a bonus one. Like, don't restrict yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, I would say, it's like, if I tell you to stop thinking of a pink elephant, then you're gonna think of a pink elephant straight away. So it's I usually start there, and then just again, same as training, just add layers on, change one thing at a time. Because clients have a diet, it's just needs work.
Yeah.
You know.
I always, when people ask me out there, I always just say, you already know what to do. You just won't do what you know, because everyone knows
Yeah.
what to do. Like they do, whether they choose to admit it or not. Like if you were to say to someone, well, what types of foods do you think you should be eating in order to get you the outcome that you're after? They'll start going, well, maybe if I ate more protein, maybe if I increase my vegetables, and maybe if I drank more water.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
If you know what it comes down to, it comes down to behavioral change more. And then Steve-O, I had Steve-O on last week. He always talks about people's identity, their own perception of their own identity is ultimately what dictates change. Because we as trainers, no matter how much, as you say, don't think of a pink elephant, no matter how much we say that, they're still going to revert back to that. So it's like the principles that you just gave us, keep it simple, drink more, and as simple as it sounds, it's probably the best advice you're ever going to give anyone. And then it's up to you just to help them change their identity, not change their fucking nutrition protocols.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's like I saw off Atomic Habits, I think that is, isn't it, the identity? But it's like, think of the person that you ultimately want to become. Like, what does that person, that is a stone lighter or like has reduced their fat, like what do they do? How do they eat? No, it's really powerful. Love that.
What do you think, I suppose from a coach's perspective, like what are the biggest issues that some newbie trainers now, again, there's still things that, and this is what I love about the job as well. This is what I love about coaching. There are still things today where I will just look at people and be like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like genuinely, there's still, and it's okay to be like, I have no idea why that is. Someone might say, I can't eat turkey because something, and you're just looking at them, what the fuck is going on in your life right now? And it's like, what do you think is the biggest obstacles that like newbie trainers might face? I suppose from a nutrition perspective and a coaching perspective as well.
It is a tough one. I think it is like, again, being there, from being in that situation myself and thinking like, I can't help this person. Like there's no way, like they're just not listening to me. I think again, like meeting, the thing I always come back to is like always meet the person where they're at. Like if you're trying to force them to do something that ultimately they don't want to do, they're not going to do it. I think it does come down to a lot of behavioral change. And yes, you're trying to give them quality information, you're trying to give them a reason why they should do this. Because ultimately, if someone's came to you, they've came to you because they're, and they're willing to give you money, it's because they're unwilling to stay where they're at. But again, I think it's asking questions. Like if you keep doing what you're doing, then ultimately you're not going to see the change that you want. And again, I think it's small, like micro changes. Like I'm a big fan of like, compound interest, and getting someone to do something so small that is going to have a big impact long term. Like something like just, cooking a new recipe, like something is just cooking one new thing per week. If you look at it over the course of the year, that's 52 new recipes per week, plus a probably enhanced skill set in the kitchen, which is going to have a massive crossover to, obviously eating better and becoming that person that they want to ultimately become. And that's something that I'm like huge with at the minute, because obviously I love cooking. Like lockdowns made me like fucking Gordon Ramsay the second.
Oh, really? Done the opposite. I've done the opposite.
But yeah, like the same with training as well. I think it's a case of, like getting someone to do something like so small. Even if it's something like, again, from an online perspective, if someone's coming in and they're not doing what you need them to do, I would always split my online training to like kind of like block work. So for example, like, your first block would be like your mobility and your priorities, then your kind of main strength work, and then conditioning. And I would always say to people, look, if you're feeling off one day, like, or, you're really not feeling it, like just do block one and just crap. And if you don't want to do block one, you feel good, you feel loose, just do block 3, just do the conditioning block. Like something's going to be better than nothing. And even break them up throughout the day. Like, if you're feeling tight in the morning, do block 1 in the morning. If you come home that night and you feel good, do block 2 and 3.
I love that. And I think there's a lot of value in that there for any coaches here watching this here, because so basically what you're saying is in a session, you've got the first block, probably your mobility element. Block 2 is the strength component, I'm guessing. Strength or
skill. Strength. I usually keep the skill in that first block, just like low level, like low intensity skill. More just if it's like, say, the main move is like a deadlift, for example, it's just like, some lat engagement, ab engagement, some glute work. And then moving on to your strength component, where that's your progressive element, if you want to call it that.
Nice. And then you've got your conditioning element there. And then if you feel, you say to your clients, look, if you're not up to it on that day, or you're not feeling it, just do block 1. Or I'm guessing, possibly even just the first 2 blocks, leave out the conditioning, or just do the conditioning.
Yeah.
If you're feeling good on that day, do the whole lot.
Yeah.
100%. Do it.
Yeah. I think it's huge. Because again, like coming from like, people with like an internal load, if you want to call it that, like where people are waking up, they're like, oh, didn't have a good sleep, or the kids are up half the night, or the dog's fucking waking you up, shitting around the show.
Yep.
It's like, are you really going to wake up and be every day and be motivated, or, have the ability to complete, sometimes they're very tough workouts, once you really get going with them. So just letting people know that there isn't that pressure to, do everything every day. Like, just do block 1, block 2. If you're feeling great, get it all done. But I think it relieves some pressure off people that expect to feel they need to be perfect every day. And if they're doing block 1, if they're doing just a mobility block, then ultimately, like, that's, they're going to enhance their mobility. They're going to level up a skill that maybe they were lacking in. And, ultimately it's still an improvement, whether they did all the work or not.
Nice, mate. Love that. So what's your training looking like at the minute?
I'm coaching with Finbar, so he's doing my programming. So my big goal at the minute is to get a 250 kilo deadlift. That's really what I'm working towards. So as I say, I had a bit of a tweak 2 weeks ago. I was doing just an accessory exercise and just tweaked my back a little bit. So I'm just coming back from that now. So as I said, I did a bit of a test there this morning, see what way I was feeling. It feels good. So gonna crack back on. But yeah, like majority of my work at the minute is my training just revolves around like pretty much just pure strength work. The conditioning aspect, I still do a workout with the No Limits guys on a Saturday morning on Zoom. So that's just me to kind of my intensity check, if you want to call it, just to keep everything, make sure I'm not falling too far behind with the conditioning. So yeah, that's what it's working at the minute. So I think once it is 250, like I'm probably the heaviest I've ever been as well. I'm like 104 kilo. I'm a chunk.
Is that purposely?
Yeah.
Purposely? Yeah. 250.
100%. Yeah, I don't really care what weight I get to. I just want to hit that 250. So again, because obviously the increase in the train intensity at the minute is huge and volume's massive. So I am eating quite a lot of food. Again, just from a recovery standpoint, want to make sure that I'm nailing every session. I think
let's talk about that, man. Let's talk about that. So in terms of recovery, you sort of hit it there, both for yourself and for your clients. What do you think the best practices are there, or what have you found that works the most? And that, if let's say a newbie trainer came to you and says to you, I'm not completely clued in on what you mean by recovery, or what I'm told. So what do you think the best practices are then?
Sleep's the easiest one, in my opinion. Like for me, sleep, from reading a lot on sleep from Matthew Walker. It's a game changer, but it's, it is the underpinning, like if you think of that list of kind of like priority hierarchy type thing, it's sleep is the underpinning factor for, everything we do, our hunger levels, our, fullness levels, and ultimately your recovery as well, like how well you recover. So for me, it's always sleep. And it is something that, not that I struggle with, I sleep like a baby, but I know if I could do with more sleep, it will definitely benefit me. And I think a lot of clients as well, like when I really look and monitor, their average sleep and, was it quality? Were you up in the night? Were you tossing and turning? Like, how was it? there's always correlations there with like that person feeling under recovered and fatigued towards the end of the week. And I think by fixing that first, rather than saying, here, take this supplement, take this magnesium, it'll help you. Like, rather than saying that, like, right, let's just fix this basic element. Like, let's get your nighttime routine sorted. Let's make sure you're not looking at your phone, before you go to bed. Let's make sure you've got your blackout blinds. Make sure you're not, having coffee before you go to bed or anything like that that's going to affect your sleep. And in my experience, like from doing that, like it really ultimately does improve recovery. And as well, like, sleep and probably calories as well. They're probably the two big ones. Personally, for me, and what's worked with clients is, if someone is coming in and saying, like, I had a client there who was coming in, he was like, every day was like, I'm so sore, tired. And it was always towards the end of the week. Right. And when we like looked over his calories again and to see like what he was doing, he was probably eating around, I think he was on about 2,600 or 2,700 calories, so a decent amount. Guy, he probably was about 85 kilo. And for him, like with the training intensity, it was like, let's take them up. Let's get up over 3,000 and see how it feels. And ultimately from that, like, I think people are always, coaches as well, always afraid to, they're afraid of what their client's reaction is going to be. And it's like, let's take your calories to maintenance. Or like, what? You're nuts. I mean, eat more. Like, are you crazy? That's like counterintuitive to what we want to do. Surely I want to be eating less. But I think if we get, clients and personally as well, like you want to get your body firing all cylinders. You want stress levels to be decreased. You want sleep to be enhanced. Because if you're not consuming enough calories, in my opinion, then it's going to affect your sleep. It's going to affect your stress, which then again, it's like a vicious cycle, which leads to under recovery. So I think they're probably the two biggest ones, in my opinion, that I like to look at is just make sure the person's getting enough calories and make sure their like evening routine and their sleep is adequate. They're getting enough. And usually when them two things are taken care of, then you see increases in performance, you see increases in recovery, and things start to kind of like, progress, should we say.
Yeah, got you, man. Got you. I always find that, and again, just me personally, I suppose from a learning perspective, so Monday to Friday, I got up at like 4:26 a.m. And like in terms of sleep, it's like very fucking minimal. Like I would say 6 hours if I'm lucky. And I was like working training first thing, and then it's just like work until I go to bed. And at the weekend, I normally have like a lie-in on Saturday and Sunday, and then I'm fresh and recovered because I'll be teaching Saturday and Sunday. But then you see, come Monday, because I've had like a massive Sunday dinner and I've slept like a lord all weekend, I'm like, just hitting the weights, pumped, everything's moving well. So again, it's like, I suppose that's that.
Because actually, it's funny, like reading Matthew Walker as well. He always says, people say, sure, I'll catch up on sleep at the weekend. I'll catch up.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
And you can't catch up on sleep. It doesn't work. No. And I had to believe that as well. But like, sure, if I get 5 hours sleep Monday to Friday, I can just get 8 hours on Saturday, Sunday. Be sweet. I'll be leveled up. Like, no, it doesn't work like that.
No. And do you know what here, man? Which is great about this? It's like, I suppose for any new trainers watching this, coaching someone is not just coaching someone on the gym floor. It's not like, and I say this all the time, it's like there's so much more to coaching than just counting reps. And if you find yourself counting reps, you're losing coachable moments. So it's like, even just in the conversation that we've had, we've kind of talked about sleep, we've talked about nutrition, we've talked about identity, about behavioral change, about habits. And it's like, you're managing all of those variables. It's not just coaching on the gym floor. If you want some sort of success, like whatever success is to you, the individual, it's like your job is to specialize at generalizing, like no just everything, just figure out everything, or at least
I think you can have like your thing that you enjoy. Like for me, it's probably kettlebells, but I know I'm well versed in, I'm well versed in nutrition, and I like to know what I'm talking about there. And then, you know, when it comes to like relationships as well, like, you know, clients will offload like a lot of shit on you, like they will. They'll tell you everything. You're like, Jesus, this is a bit much, you know, they'll tell you about like, I had to fight my husband the other day, he's a bastard and all. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know how many times. So I've actually found out on a few occasions that my clients were pregnant before they told their parents.
Mate.
I'm like, what the fuck? One of my clients, she's a long-term client. She was like, oh, I'm pregnant, blah, blah, blah. I haven't told my mom, so don't be saying to no one. I'm like, what the fuck? But
Don't put that on me.
You know, she wanted to continue to train and whatever. Like, so it was like, right, okay, now she obviously had to tell me. So
yeah.
Otherwise, I'd have been wondering, like, yeah.
It's a good thing, though, I think. Yeah, I think with a client though, like it's good because it does establish like a lot of trust if someone has that, you know, is comfortable enough and trusts you enough to tell you these things and feel like they can, you know, like tell you their problems to an extent, even though maybe sometimes you're like, fuck, you know, this person gonna start moaning. But I think in, you know, looking at it from both sides, like, you know, it's always a good thing if you can help that person, you know, if you can be the light in their day for that hour that you're with them. And then you just listen to their problems and, you know, give them the good sweat and make them laugh. Then, you know, I think where sometimes a mistake I've made is I failed to understand what's going on in people's lives. Like, it's just like, you're with me, like, get your shit together, like fucking army sergeant, like get on the floor, like get your shit done. Whereas like, you gotta understand people have their own problems as well, you know? So I think just
that'll work at certain times. That'll work at certain times, but then there's other times where it's just like, whoa, just relax here. Speaking of mistakes, what do you think the biggest one? Well, I don't ever say regrets because I regret nothing, because for me it's either like win or learn. Either win in that situation or you'll learn from it. Like I suppose to save any of our viewers the trouble of going through it. Like, what do you think the biggest mistakes you made as a coach or as a trainer?
I think probably the biggest one is like not investing in myself enough. Even though I've done courses, but when I first started, you know, I always thought like, you know, if you're qualified, then it's like, surely that's enough. You know, what else do I possibly need? And you'll just learn from clients coming in, whereas that's not the case. I think if you are willing to invest in yourself, like, you know, within qualifications or certifications or from people that are doing generally, you know, better than you and know more about a certain subject, then like I love the quote, like, people that pay attention. So if you're constantly looking for free shit, then like, you know, how much of that are you going to implement? You know, whereas if you hand over the cash, like you've got skin in the game, then ultimately like you're probably going to implement a lot more of that, you know, and obviously the bigger the price, the more you're going to implement. So I think that's huge. And that's obviously taken me, it was probably a while since I was in where, you know, Paul Murray, he had invested ridiculous amounts in his education and I was just getting this for free. He was just giving me, and I was like, happy days, and I'm saving so much money, it's great. But then, you know, once I kind of like, not probably once I left, but there was probably a point where I was like, this, you know, like, I'm not really like, he's invested all his money, and you do start to feel a bit of guilt, and you're like, you know what, like I need to kind of, it's time for me to level up. I need to put some skin, like I say, put some skin in the game, you know, invest in myself. And then, you know, I think once you let clients know, like, you know, I'm taking the money that you're giving me and I'm going to learn with it. You know, I'm going to help level up the standard to an extent. So yeah, I think not investing was probably a mistake, but then as you say, you learn from it as well, which is huge. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I think like no matter who I talk to, no matter what trainer I talk to, they always seem to have the same, like, kind of, I wish I had have invested a whole lot more, a whole lot sooner.
Yeah.
Like everyone says that. So like for me now, I don't even question it. I don't even question it. I just think if something's going to be valuable, I'm just going to book it straight away. Like straight away. And I was actually talking to Dan about this here a while ago. So I spent 600 quid. Now this wasn't on a coaching course. This was on from a business side of things. And I didn't even question this. I bought a course. It was 600 quid. And it was the fucking worst thing ever. Honestly, like it wasn't the worst thing ever. I'm probably doing it a little bit of disservice there. It just wasn't the level that I was expecting or needed. And I thought that they could have made that a little more clear before I invested in the course.
Okay.
Because I got on it, and I'm not one to turn around and say, here, listen, this is bullshit, I want my money back. I was just like, what do you do? I've invested the money now. I'm just going to take, if I get one thing from it, well, then that's it. You know, that's it. It was very minimal what I got from it. But here's what I also done. I looked at it and I was like, you know what, I could do this better. And I done that, and I created an online course for fitness professionals. And it stemmed from that. And I've sold about 40 units of the course so far. So
you learned,
it wasn't completely wasted. And that's the thing as well. Like, you don't know, because here's the thing, right? If you look at and coaching is very much it's a skill-based thing. You're basically stacking skills.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned a few people that you have learned from in the past, like Paul and Andy McKenzie and, you know, whoever else. Is like, you didn't learn everything from one person.
Mm-hmm.
You stacked skills along the way that made you the coach you are today. It wasn't just, oh, this is it, I learned this one thing, because you might have went into one coaching session with Paul and got jack shit on one day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then another day he might have said something, or Andy McKenzie might have said something, or whoever that you were with might have said something on that day, and you picked something up from it, and it was like, right, okay. And then another course you done, and all of those things combined, those skills basically stacked, and that there's what.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't, like, honestly, I think today people expect so much from education. Rightly so, and I believe that there should be a level of expectation as well. But and I'm actually contradicting what I said earlier. I expected so much off that course that I paid for, and I found myself in that little loop. It was like, right, I'm expecting a lot from this year, and I got very little.
Yeah.
But looking back at it now, what I got then propelled me to do something even bigger for myself, and it's always that way.
Yeah.
Always that way.
Yeah. So what you think you would have got is actually like you've propelled. It's far bigger. Yeah, it makes sense.
It only cost me 600 quid to do that. I only had to put some skin in the game in order to do that.
That's it. I think it's good to come like from that mindset as well, of especially like, again, learning from like Andy. He's fantastic. It's always like, right, you know, nothing is with exercise, and like his main thing is obviously coaching. But it's always like, what stamp can you put on things? And he's always saying to us, like, what way can you make this better? So it's like, if I have a program, like, what way can you make that better? So anytime we do a meetup, like, we're always coming away, like, not just learning from him and sitting going, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. It's like, you know, if we do something, it's like, right, go away and make it better, like make it yours. And you know, like you were saying, that's what you've done. Obviously, kind of different circumstances, but the same thing. I always think if you can put your own stamp on things and make it yours, and you come up with your own style and your own system of doing things, like with your coaching, then it just makes your life so much easier. If you're constantly winging like sessions, and every time someone comes in, you're like, oh, what we do today? Fuck, oh, go, I'll just write down this. Like, you don't know. Whereas if you have that system, like, you're coming in, let's do this, right? You're ticking these boxes, you're not ticking this box, now we're going to do this. It just makes it's made my life so much easier as a coach, and there's less chaos, should I say, as well. But again, it's came from the investments that I've made, and I think it's going to be a constant thing. Like, don't think there's ever going to be a point where, as you know, you're saying yourself, like, where you're going to stop investing. Like, it has to be a constant thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Because again, that you said earlier on, there's like a compound effect. It's like, with each little bit you learn, you also learn that there's way more to learn.
Yeah.
So you're like, right, okay, I'll acquire this little bit more of information, but then you realize, oh shit, I'm way behind on this here. So now you end up getting into a rabbit hole of just trying to learn more. And again, that's what makes you a better coach. It's that curiosity is what drives you to be a better coach. I actually done a video about this here during the week. The best personal trainers are the stupid ones. And
yes, I watched that.
That was a wee bit of clickbait, but what I was saying was, listen, once you jump to conclusions and once you make assumptions that you know it all, and dude, like, we've been in the game now. I'm guessing you've been coaching now for 5 years plus, 6 years plus.
Yeah, 2016, 15. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And we're sitting having this conversation going, fuck, I wish I had more information. I wish I had more knowledge. I wish I'd have invested in myself much sooner. But yet and all, I'll talk to people and they're like, oh, I already know a lot about training. I just need to get qualified. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Right.
Yeah. Do you?
Like, shut the fuck up. What do you think in terms of resources for new coaches? What do you think the best available stuff is? Books, courses? Yeah, hold nothing back. Just give it all.
Yeah, I think it's weird, like it's not really a business book, but The Go Giver is one for me that just screams out straight away. Like, I'll not teach you anything about how to teach a squat or, how to, market yourself to be amazing. But it just teaches you like certain laws of success that are just around like just being a good person, just not being a dick, really. Right. And I think the more you can give, the more you receive. So, it's like, and again, I've made this like a weekly thing with my clients, and my client base is like every week I'll always send someone some a gift, or just tell someone that I appreciate them type thing. And yes, even if you refer someone to another coach, if someone comes on board and gives a call and it's like, look, I don't think we're the right fit, but here, why don't you try this person? Ultimately giving someone else business is probably going to get a return from me, and you not know when, but it will. And I think that book, The Go Giver, for me is probably the best book I've ever read, and it just clicked so many things for me. Again, told me nothing about SWAT, but it was just certain behaviors and things I think everyone, not just as a coach but as a human, should really do. It was quality. I think resources in terms of coaching ability, like again, I'm going to give a shout out to like Andy. Like, his combined strength group is solid, and in terms of standards in the industry, like he is constantly trying to level up the standard to always up in your game, like knowing what the body does, knowing what having that system in place. Like I was saying, like someone comes in, exactly what's going on, you're not winging it. And again, like with your network as well, like in that group I'm surrounded by a bunch of really good guys that are a really good peer group, and they help you level up as well. So I think with in terms of courses and in terms of books, they're probably the two big ones for me, massively. And it's where like I did obviously the MNU nutrition certification, but it's funny, like if someone came around and says like, should I do that? I'd probably tell them not to, simply because everyone probably knows the basics of like, it's like you're not gonna really, if you want to become a certified nutritionist, 100% crack on. But if you want to know a little bit more about nutrition, it's like there's not really more you need to know other than probably know your priorities of nutrition, know the nutritional pyramid. And
I think it's more, I think that stuff becomes really valuable when you are actually dealing with special populations. Yes. When, like, if you've got someone that comes in and they're not like, they've no, we'll call it neediness around their situation, right? So people that need this or need that, they're based on their current circumstances. If you don't have that, well then it's like, right, just do the fucking basics. But if there is, well then obviously having the right information around that is
yeah. And then again, I think going back to the Go Giver, you can always refer out, always refer to another business. If you give someone else business, I'm sure they're going to appreciate it. They're going to give you back, like again, even if it's someone that has a certain injury that's out of my scope of practice, I'm like, look, I'm not qualified to deal with this. It's like, refer to a physio. If it's handy, I've got a girlfriend as a physio. Defer to her, get her in business.
Just get a girlfriend that's a physio, and that'll solve all your problems. Well, here, dude, there's your recovery sorted right there. What's the rest of us gonna do?
Fuck. It's a torture session for her. She just gets fucking payback.
Good to know.
No, I think like in terms of resources, like for me, like to keep it simple, they're probably two big ones. Again, if someone's coming in and through the likes of your course, like they're going to get probably a lot of information on coaching and exercise. But I think in terms of just being a good person as a coach. Because again, you probably came into contact with some guys in the industry that just they're all take. There is no give. So I think it's always good to have that trait.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely. It's it's definitely a good resource. Is Pindar, isn't it? Isn't that his name?
Pindar,
yeah. Class book, really class book. But do you know what? It starts with that. Like, most people think that they have to know all of the best coaching cues and all of the best numbers in terms of periodization and all the best programs. And it's like, no, like, for the most part, just try to make the hour that your clients have with you the best hour of their day. And if you can do that, like, the rest will follow. So it's good to know, like, you need to be a great technician, yes.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is, first and foremost, just don't be a dick with people.
Yeah, don't be a dick. That's it. No, 100%, mate. You're just right. And I think it's like, from like I did the OTA, the Online Trader Academy, last year, and one thing that, like, John Goodman always said was, like, do a good job and make sure everyone knows about it. And, like, actually have that written on the board up here. And it's like, it does make sense. Like, if you do a good job with someone and, they ultimately, yes, get results, but they just have a better lifestyle because of you, then it's like, like, celebrate that, let people know that. And ultimately you'll probably get more business.
Yeah, that's quality, man. That's quality. One last question, G. So why did you purposely break your hand before you were due to fight PJ?
See, the thing is, PJ told me he had a modeling contract coming up. I gave him up too much. He wouldn't have got it, so I was doing him a favor. David Orchin tickled him.
That's true. And they're sure. Did PJ bust David's nose that day? I think he made it.
Yeah. It was a bloody one, though.
Yeah, I was curious. It was your finger you broke?
That's a shame of it.
Broke his finger purposely to get out of fighting PJ.
Doing a handstand of all things, a fucking handstand.
Dude, for God's sake!
Cracked it on the rig, hit it on the rig, and it just was like, oh, that doesn't look good.
Oh shit! He's
one day we'll get back in there. I'll wrestle him one day.
Yes. Let's get that organized. We're calling PJ right now. He's calling PJ.
We'll wrestle. We'll do some oil wrestling or something.
Sounds good. Gee, if there was something that I didn't ask you today, but should have asked you, what do you think it would have been?
Oh, it's a tough one. Let me see. I've actually made notes there, so you've missed anything. I think, to be honest, you covered most things there. Like, again, like, when it comes to, like, things that I think I would do, a younger me type thing would have done better. I would always say about, like, structure. So not so much like a mistake, but I think from, me stepping into, leaving the Leisureplex or and then coming into that kind of, like, full-time coaching role type thing. I think structure for most new coaches is something that you want to try and get, like, sorted as soon as possible. For me, like, the first year, it was just like, I just said yes to everything. And I think, yes, there's an element of that, like, saying yes, and you're, I think people have to understand that whenever you get into the industry, like, you're going to have early mornings and late nights. And that's, when you're beginning, it's almost like you're rite of passage to an extent. Like, that's, you have to go through them times, but having that structure and having that kind of creating your own routine, because again, you're essentially working for yourself, your own boss. So having that routine and having that kind of structure set is huge, not only, like, probably for your mental health and your making sure that you don't burn out, as a coach. I think learning to say no more and being, strict with my routine is something that, yes, I'm still kind of working on it. I've got a really good routine at the minute, but I think it's just like a younger me would have been like, right, just knowing to say no. No when's enough's enough, and stick to routine. Because again, it can, not having that, I think, and it did spill over to, like, outside of the working hours and not having the energy to, spend time with Kaylee, or, like, snapping at my mom, or, just being like, don't fucking talk to me. I've spent fucking 12 hours speaking to people all day. Going to bed. So yeah, I think just having that, knowing to say no, and having that structure, like, work on your own terms, rather than everyone else's, I think that's huge.
Love it, dude. Thank you so much for your time today, mate. Much appreciated.
I appreciate it.
Where can people connect with you?
Instagram just at Gareth Molloy, and the same on Facebook. Give us a follow. I was trying to put up a lot of content at the minute, just around kind of, again, kettlebells and nutrition, just basic lifestyle, really content, and just trying to do good stuff for the people of Northern Ireland.
Being a go-giver, dude. Always.
That's
Thank
it.
you, mate.
That's
Much
it.
appreciated.
Thank you, mate.
See you soon, bud. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.